Authorized process is Archana. Archana means the process of deity worship. So meditate step by step from the lotus feet of the Lord upward to his smiling face. As we do the arati, so even for the lamp, we know 4 times we will rotate on the lotus feet of the Lord, then 2 times on the waist, navel, and 3 times on the lotus face, and then the 7 times on the whole body. So this is why we do. So we will meditate on that particular things like the lotus feet of the Lord, then the navel, then the lotus face, and then the whole body of the Lord. So this gradual approach actually ensures purification of the heart and intelligence. So we offer flowers, tulsi, dress, and bathing to the Lord's deity form. So these activities actually purify the mind and senses. And gradual elevation it does, and it's not like jumping directly to the Ras Leela. So this 10th canto, where the Ras dance is explained, this is actually the smiling face of the Lord, the highest revelation of the divine loves. To prematurely jump to hear or meditate on Ras Leela without purification leads to misunderstanding. We have seen like so many people misunderstand this. Yesterday also we discussed like so many things people tell, so many wrong understanding they will tell. So because of that, first we should internalize the teachings and purificatory process of the earlier cantos of Bhagavatam. The 9 cantos are there for a purpose. So have to read them first, get into the right consciousness, and then one can relish the 10th canto. And so, how we will know like the success of meditation? The success of meditation is not in external stillness or imagination, but in detachment from sense gratification. So if somebody is doing the real meditation, then as a result, he will get the detachment from sense gratification and he will get the attachment to the service of the Lord. So as one meditates sincerely on the Lord's form, his intelligence becomes purified and material desires go away slowly, slowly. And Srila Prabhupada defines this purification as the ultimate goal of meditation. So this is the ultimate goal of meditation. It leads to liberation and divine love. So there are different kinds of practitioners, and for them, different things are there. Like for the devotees, the recommended process is to meditate through the deity worship as and personal service. Impersonalists or the voidist, Shunyavadis and the Nirvisheshvadis, they meditate on the universal form Virat Rupa because they are not purified enough for deity worship. So deity worship or the Archvigra, the deity form, Archvigra is not different from the Lord himself and requires a pure or purifying consciousness. So conclusion is that meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord is not imagination. It is the most scientific process of purifying the mind and the intelligence. So we'll move to the next verse, that is verse number 14. To whom it is assigned?
It's been assigned to me.
Yes, Mataji, please read.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, welcome back.
Pranam Prabhuji.
Welcome, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Mataji, can read.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 14. Yavanna Jayeta Paravare Smin Vishweshware Drashtari Bhakti Yogaha Tavat Staviyah Purusasya Rupam Kriyavasane Prayatah Smareta. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: unless the gross materialist develops a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and material worlds, he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties. Purport: the Supreme Lord is the seer of all worlds, both material and transcendental. In other words, the Supreme Lord is the ultimate beneficiary and enjoyer of all worlds, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. The spiritual world is a manifestation of his internal potency, and the material world is a manifestation of his external potency. The living entities are also his marginal potency, and by their own choice, they can live in either the transcendental or material worlds. The material world is not a fit place for living entities because they are spiritually one with the Lord, and in the material world, the living entities become conditioned by the laws of the material world. The Lord wants all living entities who are his parts and parcels to live with him in the transcendental world, and for enlightening conditioned souls in the material world, all the Vedas and the revealed scriptures are there expressly to recall the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Unfortunately, the conditioned living entities, although suffering continues continually, the threefold miseries of conditioned life are not very serious about going back to Godhead. It is due to their misguided way of living, complicated by sins and virtues. Some of them who are virtuous by deeds begin to re establish the lost relation with the Lord, but they are unable to understand the personal feature of the Lord. The real purpose of life is to make contact with the Lord and be engaged in His service. That is the natural position of living entities. But those who are impersonalists and are unable to render any loving service to the Lord have been advised to meditate upon His impersonal feature, the Virat Rupa or universal form. Some way or other, one must try to re establish one's forgotten relation with the Lord if one at all desires to gain real happiness in life and to retain his natural, unfettered condition. For the less intelligent beginners, meditation on the impersonal feature, the Virat Rupa or universal form of the Lord, will gradually qualify one to raise to personal contact. One is advised herewith to meditate upon the Virat Rupa specified in in the previous chapters in order to understand how the different planets, seas, mountains, rivers, birds, beasts, human beings, demigods, and all that we can conceive are but different parts and limbs of Lord's Virat form. This sort of thinking is also a type of meditation on the absolute truth, and as soon as such meditation begins, one develops one's godly qualities, and the whole world appears to be a happy and peaceful residence for all the people of the world. Without such meditation on God, either personal or impersonal, all good qualities of the human being become covered with misconceptions regarding his constitutional position, and without such advanced knowledge, the whole world becomes a hell for the human being. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So again, the it is said like the gross materialist develop a sense of loving service. Unless he develops a uh, sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and the material worlds, he should never he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord. So it is recommended till loving service is developed. By that time, the gross materialist should meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties. So here the Lord is the seer and enjoyer of all worlds. So he's the ultimate observer, Updrashta, and he is the enjoyer of everything as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwara. The Supreme Lord is the enjoyer of all sacrifices and austerities and the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods. So everything that exists, both spiritual in the Prabhara Vyoma and the material Mahat Tattva, operates under his potencies. Internal potency is the Antaranga Shakti that creates a spiritual world full of eternal bliss and knowledge. External potency with the Bahiranga Shakti creates the material world, temporary, full of ignorance and suffering. And the marginal potency is the Tata Shakti is the Jivas. He can choose whether to associate with the Antaranga Shakti or the Bahiranga Shakti. So again, so the soul is misplaced. The living entities are by nature spiritual, mean to live eternally in loving service of the Lord. But by misuse of the minute independence they have, they become entangled in matter and suffer under the threefold miseries, that is Adhyatmika, Adidevika, and Adibhautika. So material world is not actually our natural home. So there is a saying that we are not material beings having a spiritual experience. We are actually the spiritual beings that right now is having a material experience. So this is not our natural home. It is a temporary correctional facility to reform our consciousness and redirect it towards Krishna. So in the Vedic scriptures, they are very mercifully they are provided by the Lord to remind the soul to its lost relationship with the Lord. So in all the authentic scriptures, austerity and spiritual practice ultimately aims at reviving our eternal service to the Lord to go back home, go back to Godhead. There are different levels of God realization. So personalists are there, like the bhaktas, those who understand and serve the personal form of the Lord, they attain the ultimate perfection. Impersonalists, on the other hand, the Gyanis, they are unable to grasp the personal feature and are advised to meditate on the Lord's Virat Rupa, the universal form. So actually, this meditation is a training or a stepping stone for understanding that everything in the universe is a part of God. And by seeing God's presence everywhere, one's mind becomes peaceful, purified, and godly. But ultimately, they have to come to the next stage. So meditation on the Virat Rupa includes all aspects of creation. So the mountains are called his bones, the oceans are his bodily fluids, the planets are his limbs, sun and moon are his eyes, the demigods, animals, and human his bodily parts. So by meditating in this way, one begins to see divinity in everything and thus cultivates humility, compassion, and reverence. So what is the ultimate goal? That is personal contact with the Lord. So have a personal relationship with the Lord. So every meditation on the impersonal or the universal form, if done sincerely, it gradually leads towards personal realization. The Lord reciprocate with the devotees according to his approach. As Lord says, Ye yata mam prapadyatte tam state bhajamiham. As they approach me, I reward them accordingly. This is in the fourth chapter, 4.11. And then ultimately, the real happiness of the soul lies in reawakening loving service to the Supreme Person, not in void or impersonal observation. So, what are the different consequences of forgetting God? Without moderation on the Lord, neither is personal or impersonal feature. Human being becomes misguided and restless. So they lose their godly qualities and they become absorbed in materialism, turning the world into a hellish place of always conflicts and suffering. And true peace and harmony arise only when human consciousness is God centered. So when the center of our life is Krishna, then harmony and peace can be achieved. Like it is said, like without a universal father, there can't be a universal brotherhood. So essence of this chapter, and sorry, this verse is whether through meditation on the Virat form or through loving service to the deity, one must somehow or other fix the mind on Krishna. This is the beginning of real peace and return to our natural blissful state. And the Virat Rupa meditation is the begin for the beginners. It is like a stepping stone, and the next step is the fixing our mind on the personal uh, form. Okay, we'll move ahead. Next one is text 15. Yeah. Anybody has been assigned this one?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it's allotted to me.
Yeah, please.
Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 15. Stiram sukham cha asanam astito yatiha yada jihasur imam angalokam kale cha deshe cha manona sajjayit pranan niyachit manasa jita asuhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed and regulating the life air should control the senses by the mind. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 18.4, it is clearly stated that a person who is totally engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and who constantly remembers him at every step easily obtains the mercy of the Lord by entering into his personal contact. Such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body, but those who are mixed devotees, alloyed with fruitive action or empirical philosophical speculation, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. For them, the opportune moments are stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.23 to 26, but these opportune moments are not as important as one's being a successful yogi who is able to quit his body as he likes. Such a yogi must be competent to control his senses by the mind. The mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it in the lotus feet of the Lord. Gradually, by such service, all the senses become uh, automatically engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the way of merging into the Supreme Absolute. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here again, Prabhupada has wonderfully put in the purport, like how a yogi uh, doesn't has to you don't have to like think of the proper time or place when his time has come, but he should comfortably sit without being disturbed and regulate the life here and should control the senses by the mind. So once a devotee don't have to worry about time and place for the death when the death will come, because Lord has given in the 8.14, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain. O son of Partha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So somebody who's always engaged in Krishna consciousness, Lord becomes very easy to obtain. So that kind of devotee is not depending on particular time, place, or method to achieve liberation. His remembrance of Krishna is constant and spontaneous. So even if a devotee at the last moment, suppose he's not in a position to remember, like somebody is in coma or such kind of situation where he's not able to remember. Sometimes some people die in sleep also. But if that constant remembrance is there, so that time Lord will definitely uh, consider that. So, but that is the thing, like constant remembrance should be there. This distinction actually, uh, yeah, and there are different mixed devotees, and based on that, their opportune moments are there. Like there are auspicious and inauspicious time for death. It is given in 8.23 to 26. Like those who depart during the light, the bright fortnight or 6 months of sun northern part attains the supreme. Those who departs during darkness, the waning moon or the southern part come back again. So this distinction applied to yogis and devotees who are not fully surrendered. Those who are still rely on some material calculations or mixed motives, karma and jnana mixed with bhakti, for them these kind of condition apply. Like I told, like those who goes in the during the light or bright fortnight or 6 months of sun's northern path. But for the bhaktas, because they are constantly remembering the Lord, these conditions doesn't apply. The supreme advantage of pure devotion. So what is the supreme advantage? For one who is fully engaged in the loving service of the Lord, every moment is opportune, every moment is auspicious. So he's always observed in Krishna's lotus feet. His consciousness is already purified. So death is not fearful or some critical event. It is simply a change of dress for him. After which devotee immediately returns to the back to Godhead. Now, Prabhupada has explained that such a devotee does not have to wait for an auspicious movement or planetary alignment. His remembrance of the Lord is the perfection of yoga. So controlling the mind and senses means like the uh, in the passage it is given like the real yoga means controlling the mind and senses. This control, however, is not possible by mechanical restraint or by some material process. It is by the positive engagement in devotional service. So when the mind is engaged in the devotional service, automatically the senses become controlled. Very easily, the mind can be conquered by engaging into the lotus feet of the Lord. So when the mind is fixed on Krishna, all senses naturally follow. they become purified and they are spiritualized. So that leads to the real merging, not to impersonal Brahman, but into loving union with the Supreme Law person, Shri Krishna. So when we say one with the Lord, that doesn't mean merging into the Lord. One with the Lord means having the same agenda as the Lord has, having the same, in the Lord will, our will is there. That is actually one with the Lord. So, essence, pure devotion is constant remembrance of Krishna, easy attainment of Him. A mixed devotion, they need some proper time and condition for liberation. True sense control is engaging all the senses in Krishna's service, and real merging is eternal loving association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yeah, can we do one more? So, okay. Anybody's assigned 16th verse, or anybody else can read also if not is
Yes,
not answered.
Prabhuji. Assigned.
Assigned, okay, yeah. Then probably read. Who's been assigned?
16th, again Sudhamataji.
Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, it's been assigned to me.
Yeah, Mataji. You can read, Mataji.
Manaswa buddhya malaya niyamya kshetra jnanekam निश्चितम् आत्मानि आत्मानम् आत्मन्य अवरुद्ध्य धीरो लब्धोपसन्तिर्विरमेत कृत्याय कृत्याय. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence into the living entity and then merge the living entity into the super self. And by doing this, the fully satisfied living entity becomes situated in the supreme stage of satisfaction so that he ceases from all other activities. Purport. The functions of the mind are thinking, feeling, and willing. When the mind is materialistic or absorbed in material contact, it acts for material advancement of knowledge, destructively ending in discovery of nuclear weapons. But when the mind acts under spiritual urge, it acts wonderfully for going back home, back to Godhead, for life in complete bliss and eternity. Therefore, the mind has to be manipulated by good and unalloyed intelligence. Perfect intelligence is to render service unto the Lord. One should be intelligent enough to understand that the living being is in all circumstances a servant of the circumstances. Every living being is serving the dictates of desire, anger, lust, illusion, insanity, and enviousness. All materially affected, all materially affected. But even while executing such dictations of different temperaments, he is perpetually unhappy. When one actually feels this and turns his intelligence to inquiring about it from the right sources, he gets information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Instead of serving materially for the above mentioned different humors of the body, the living entity's intelligence then becomes freed from the unhappy illusion of materialistic temperament, and thus, by unalloyed intelligence, the mind is brought into the service of the Lord. The Lord and his service are identical, being on the absolute plane. Therefore, the unalloyed intelligence and the mind are merged into the Lord, and thus the living entity does not remain a seer himself, but becomes seen by the Lord transcendentally. When the living entity is directly seen by the Lord dictates to him to act according to his desire, and when the living entity follows him perfectly, the living entity ceases to discharge any other duty for his illusionary satisfaction. In his pure unalloyed state, the living being attains the stage of full bliss, labdhopasanti, and ceases all material hankerings. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So here, wonderful purport again. So actually, in this purport, Prabhupada actually describes the real transformation of consciousness, how the material mind becomes spiritualized when guided by pure intelligence in the service of the Lord. So Here, three functions of the mind is given. What are the three functions? Thinking, feeling, and willing. These are the three natural operations of the mind. So when the mind is materially observed, it uses these powers for material advancement, like science, politics, sensual enjoyment, and so on. Such endeavors, however, and advanced, it may be very advanced, but end in destruction and dissatisfaction, like weapons, conflicts, and exploitation. Now, when the mind is spiritual directed, it uses the same power for self for realization and for serving the Supreme Lord. And it leads to the eternal bliss and peace. So the mind itself is not the enemy, as it is already said in the Bhagavad Gita, that mind is the best friend when it is under control, and when it is not in control, then it is the worst enemy. So mind itself is not the enemy, it simply takes on the nature of the direction it receives from the material intelligence or the spiritual intelligence. So we need to see like what we want to feed our mind with. So when how we can manipulate the mind through our intelligence, and mind must be guided by good and unalloyed intelligence. So as we see in the example of the chariot, when our body is compared to the chariot, the mind is actually uh, the senses are the horses, and mind is the reins of those horses, and intelligence is the driver, and soul is the passenger. So mind, we can see the driver controls the reins. So in the same way, the reins has to be controlled by the mind has to be controlled by the intelligence, good and unalloyed intelligence, also not the weak intelligence. Because if the driver is weak, then the chariot will not be go in the correct direction, because the horses may pull wherever they want. Similarly, our senses may want different kind of sense gratification, but if we have a strong mind, then we can control the senses. If we have a weak mind, then the senses will run in every other direction. So material intelligence tries to control matter for enjoyment, and spiritual intelligence understand that the living being is the eternal servant of the Lord. So that shift of understanding from being a master to being a servant, it is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. So real intelligence means to render service unto the Lord, knowing that our constitutional position is to serve the Lord. It is not some independent enjoyer. So Jiver Swarup hai, Krishna Nityadas. So with that consciousness, that shift comes from being a master or thinking himself to be a master to being a servant of Krishna. Now, every living being is always serving someone. Actually, living being is a servant of circumstances. So whatever circumstances he is living, in material life, he is serving a service is dictated by lust, anger, greed, illusion, and envy, the six anarthas. So they constantly drives the mind and forcing one to act against the one own peace. And yet, even while serving them, the soul remains unsatisfied and restless. It is not like we are serving these six anarthas, then we'll be very happy. We will be dissatisfied only till we serve these six. So when a person realizes that this bondage and sincerely seek liberation, he turns his intelligence towards the right source, the spiritual master and the shastras, which reveal the process of devotional service. Now, by association with the devotees and hearing the pastime of the Lord, hearing from genuine sources, then one learns about the transcendental loving service to the Lord, Bhakti Yoga. Then the same intelligence that once serves the material desires become spiritualized, purified, and begins to engage the mind in the Krishna's service. So at this stage, what happens? The mind becomes the friend rather than the enemy, because it is now controlled. And all thoughts, feelings, and desires become centered on Krishna. The material illusion, Maya, that once bound the material mind, that dissolves. And as Prabhupada is right, that Lord and his service are identical, being on the absolute plane. So we see in the spiritual world, everything is absolute, on the absolute plane. So even that his service is identical to the Lord. So when one's mind and intelligence are absorbed in devotional service, they are spiritually merged, not by losing individuality, but by becoming one in purpose and harmony with the will of the Lord. As I explained in the previous verse, becoming one with the Lord doesn't mean to get merged into the Lord, but becoming one in purpose and harmony. So with the will of the Lord. So devotee is no longer the seer or the doer. He becomes guided directly by the Lord. The Lord dictates from within us, Paramatma. And what is the result of that? Attaining perfect peace. So when that living entity acts only according to the Lord's will, he has no separate desire for material gain or enjoyment. Then he attains that stage of Labdopashanti. Labdopashanti means perfect peace, complete cessation of material hankering, and full bliss. The natural state of a soul is full bliss. Who is engaged in the devotional service, he will get that full bliss, Anand. So actually, this is the state of true liberation, not mere void or cessation, but positive engagement in the loving service of to Krishna. In that, he will get that perfect peace and the full bliss. So with that, we'll stop here. So devotees can share their thoughts, any corrections or comments. We'll start with, we'll go in the reverse direction today. Vidya Mataji, would you like to say something?
ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆಂದ್ರೆ ಟ್ರೂ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನ್ ಹೇಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನ್ಸನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಕೃತ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ನಂಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ. ಈ ತರ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಷನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಭಕ್ತಿ ನಾವು ಕೃಷ್ಣನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡಿವೋಷನ್ ತುಂಬಾ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಡಿವೋಟಿ ಆಗ್ಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಇವತ್ತು ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ.
Thank you, Mataji. Sudha Mataji, would you like to share any point?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, first we should meditate upon on Lord's lotus feet, and the beginners will meditate on the Virat Rupa, and the ultimate goal is to connect with the Lord. And when mind is fixed on Lord, then all senses also becomes aligned. And pure devotee is should constantly remember Lord Krishna. And mind is always like very wavering, and we should it's always engaged in mundane activities. So we should train our mind on meditating on Lord. And this is not an easy task though, but still we can slowly, day by day, we should see the progress, how we are progressing. We can check ourselves and meditate on Lord, do Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and always remember the glories of the Lord, his childhood memories. All are all very blissful. If you keep on remembering all, that is very blissful. So continuously we can train our mind, and at a certain point we'll be like always want to listen only to Krishna glories. That stage we'll be reaching. If we once develop that state, then I think we can easily train our mind to totally concentrate on Lord, so that we can reach to Godhead. Because this material world is not real, it is like a shadow, it is temporary. And we know that it is again a roller coaster, of happiness and misery and all that. So instead of falling into this misery, if we want happiness, blissful, like how Krishna is, if we want that state, then we should also like follow what Bhagavad Gita says. And I'm sure that if not today, at some point we'll be reaching that stage. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Shruti Mataji, would you like to share some points?
No, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mariappan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Text 13. I must meditate on the lotus feet and recommended to pray in temple, alert, aware, and active in devotion, always mind must be adequately engaged without giving room for devil's workshop. With reasonable targets must be preferably with the guidance of senior devotees and spiritual master. Mode of ignorance or damoguna must be wisely tackled to achieve optimum result, and prescribed gradual approach in worship ensures steady progress in devotion. Real meditation on the lotus feet enables anyone improve in intelligence and detachment from sense gratification. The most scientific process in meditation on the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. And for text 14, gross materialist must meditate on the lotus feet of Lord. And misuse of independence entangles in multiple fold of miseries. Merciful Lord always intends to take home back to Godhead. Ultimate goal is resume the forgotten relationship with the Supreme Lord. And for text 15, for pure devotees who always remember Supreme Lord is no worry of death time, and the circumstances are completely taken care of. Every moment is auspicious for the devotees who are constantly remember the Supreme Lord. Mind is fixed on the lotus feet of Lord, and mind is friend and enemy as per intelligent manipulation. Strong mind can control sense gratifications like smart master controls the servant, and association with pure devotees ensure bhakti yoga, which ensures spiritual progress steadily. That much I understood, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Asha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is just my takeaways. How important it is for me to train my mind so that I can fix my mind on the Lord, and how important it is to use all my senses in the loving service of the Lord. That's what I understood from today's discussion, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ashna Mataji. Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I hope you had a blissful yatra, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so nice.
Good that you are back. So tomorrow I will be leaving for Vrindavan. So I'll be coming back on 27th.
Tomorrow you leave, no?
Yes, I'm leaving tomorrow morning.
Sure. Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. So
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Dandavat Mataji.
How was your yatra?
Super.
Vrindavan tour.
Yes, super.
okay, so we'll stop here. Probably Monday we'll have session. Vancha kalptarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।